Hi everybody, it's Thea and thanks so much for being here. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, God and Goddess Tarot. Today we're going to do a tag video because it's been an age since I've done a good old tarot tag. So this one spoke to me so hard when I first saw it. I was on Rhiannon's channel when I saw it first, from Rhiannon's Rambles, and a bunch of other people have done it, Amidst the Grey and Amethyst Ascension, and I'm like, this tag speaks to me in such a wonderful way. It's the Wanderlust Dex tag, so it's basically channeling all of that wonderful, juicy life juice that is like the desire to travel, to escape, to get out, to be in the world in an interesting and different kind of way. And there's 13 different prompts. We're gonna go through each of them, pick a deck for each, and I'm gonna talk about why I chose that deck for that prompt, and it's gonna be such a fun time. I'm so excited about it. I'm not gonna put myself under too much pressure to pick the perfect deck for it because there was a lot of things whizzing through my head, but I think I've got a pretty substantial and accurate list that I've kind of put together. I don't know, I feel like these are good. I feel like I did a good job. So let's get into her. So the first prompt in this tag is the Backpacker. So this deck is adventurous, fun, and versatile. It's mostly tarot I chose, but at the same time I also threw in a couple oracles because I had to, but it's largely tarot. I tried to pick tarot first, but then if there was an oracle that just had to be for that prompt, I picked it. Does that make any sense? But either, if you're choosing to do the tag, either is fine. Anyway, for the Backpacker, I chose the Ashura Tarot. The reason I chose this one is because this one is my little adventure tarot deck. I've backpacked with it. It's small, it's wee, it's a perfect little guy for taking on the road. Fits in your bag really nice. It's yeah, I love it so much. It's a Thothy clone. One of my toxic traits is that if I know something, I just assume everybody else automatically does also, because I'm the last to know everything, but I should be better at explaining things. But this is an indie deck by Sarah Wheatley. It's available on Game Crafter, I believe, or Printer Studio. I'll double check. I'll put the link in the description. But it's a Thothy clone. It comes in two sizes. There's this little mini, like, bridge size little fellow, and then like a longer, more tarot size one. But I just love this for all situations. It's kind of like my universal traveling deck. I took it to Greece with me. It's colorful. It's really easy and quick to read. It has the associations right on it, so I love it. So that's my Backpacker deck because she fits in my backpack and she's perfect for it. So that's the Ashura Tarot by Sarah Wheatley. Is there anything else I can say about this? I feel like it's been such a long time since I've done a tag that I don't even know what to say other than to show you the cards and be like, look, ooh, pretty. But it's a good one and done one as well. It doesn't like scream to have another deck with it a lot of the time. It plays nicely on its own. Small, great, handy, is a crowd pleaser. Anyhow, it's the Ashura Tarot. Alright, and the next prompt, number 2, is the Cruiser. So, a deck that is relaxing, luxurious, enjoyable. So I tried to specifically think of a deck that I would take with me on a cruise. Something that is luxurious and enjoyable. A bit extra, if you will. And this deck is definitely that. It's also huge, which I don't know if the size of this would like ultimately make me choose not to bring it on a cruise, but the vibe of it, like the ease, the whole experience just really fit that whole cruising mentality, right? It's a Dream Dust Shamanic Tarot. And just look at this presentation. It's in this lovely magnetic box that's covered in material. Gold, just gold, right? The edges are a stunning gold also. There's gold foiling on the book. Backs are stunning. They kind of have that like watery ocean vibe about them also. This deck is by Sue Sparrow Bellamy as well. Just thought I'd show you. Try and remember the name of the creators, but this whole deck just gives me cruiser vibes a little bit. It's easy to read because it has a very lightly deep. It's not like it's not like depths of your subconscious deep, but it's also not surface level either, but it's just nice. It's like a really great, nice message written right on the card. So like the guidebook's there, but you don't even really need it if you don't want to. The pictures are fluid. Sorry, I'll show you some more of them as I ramble. It's named after the elements, so you get really that like elemental energy that you would get while you're out on a cruise. It's beautiful. It's easy. It's luxurious. I'm like, yeah, this is it. This is the cruiser deck. Open for interpretation. It's probably a love it or hate it deck also, which is I think what cruising is. Some people either love cruising and some people either hate it. Like it's one or the other. It's either like some people are like that's not properly how you travel, and other people are like it's the only way I'd ever do it. So it's polarizing, much like I feel like this deck would be also. But yeah, no, it's great. So the Dream Dust Shamanic Tarot is my cruiser deck. It's also very slidey, which is like a boat on the water. All of the associations, but yeah, and the water suit is called, it's the sea suit, right? And the air is the wind suit. It's great. I'm into it. Alright, so that's the Dream Dust Shamanic Tarot. For the cruiser, question number 2. Alright, question number 3 on this wonderful tag is the Road Tripper, a spontaneous, fun, full of surprises deck. And so this one, I'm like, okay, if I was going on a road trip, what deck would I want to bring? That also didn't fit into any of the other prompts. I was like trying my best not to use Ashura for all of them. Trust me, it was hard. That one is like my go-to, take with me everywhere kind of deck. But for this prompt, I chose the Serpent Fire for the Road Tripper because I feel like any of the Serpent Fire decks would fit well in a road trip situation. They're just so cool. And you know, easy enough to take. The guidebook isn't huge. You don't need to know a whole great depth of esoteric meaning to read with it, but like if you already do, then that's great. Another relatively nice and luxurious situation, but it does kind of have that late 20s kind of age vibe about it, which is I think peak road tripping age. Am I right? Am I wrong? I don't know, but I feel like it like energetically sits right in the same space and feel in time as someone who would be very much the type of person to really enjoy going on spontaneous road trips. So that's another reason why I picked this one for the Road Tripper. And I'm sure there's copies of the Serpent Fire that have been on many a road trip in the world. But, yeah. I feel like this would be perfectly at home in the American deserts or across the plains or going out east. I feel like it would just fit. And it would be a crowd pleaser in a group setting, just to, you know, keep the people in the car happy. Because that's half the job of a road trip, is to make sure your trip mates don't hate you by the end of it. And if you can travel together, then you'll be friends forever. That's just how it works. You've gone through an initiatory experience together when you go on a road trip. I love that. Road trips as initiatory experiences. Yes, I'm here for it. But yeah, no, this deck is my Road Tripper. And it's a great choice. So that one there is the Road Tripper, the Serpent Fire deck by Davini Amberwolf. A fun choice for that prompt. Oh no! Oh, it's going everywhere. Ow. Question number 4. This video is going to be longer than I expected. Question number 4 is the Explorer, a deck that's curious, daring, open-minded. For this one, this was the last one I picked, and I was like, no, don't pick that one. It's too on the nose, but it was the one. It was the one. The one I chose for the Explorer is the Voyager Tarot. And Voyager is just another word for Explorer, is it not? And I don't know, the spacey vibes, the being very daring indeed. This deck was very different when it first came out. I've trimmed it also. This is the mass market one by James Wanless. But it was something different. Collage deck, a lot. It had weird suits. It had, you know, almost not quite a new system, but it did vary from what, you know, one experienced tarot as in the past. I'm sorry, it's probably like blending into my tarot cloth here, sorry. But you know, this one, it's definitely daring, and it's definitely open-minded, and it's, you know, it takes you places out there literally. So I thought this was a perfect choice for the Explorer deck. Now, whether or not, if I was going into the jungles on some weird archaeological expedition, would I bring this one specifically with me? I'm not sure. I do like the book with it, but it is being, I've cut it to this little like square size. It does make a nice little travel deck. It's not super tiny, but it's tiny enough. But it's fun though. It's definitely, there's a lot to look at. If you're easily overwhelmed, if you feel claustrophobic by collage decks, this is one that I would steer well clear of if I were you. But if you like to be like immersed in the images and the cards, to like use them as little search and find, like path work right into them, kind of experiencing the chaotic energy that is contained within a collage deck, then the Voyager Tarot, it's a great one. It's so much fun. A classic. And it's my Explorer deck. Okay, the next one, number 5, is the Tourist, a popular deck that's accessible and well known. But of course, it would be doing a great disservice if I picked anyone but this little beastie, The Lightseers by Chris Ann. Happy birthday, Chris Ann, as well. Today or yesterday? One or the other days. It was her birthday. But yeah, this one just came out in a pocket edition, which would be even better in that case. But this deck really does fit the popular, well-known crease. That one. This has been used. It's been out and about, this deck. I've taken it to the beach. I've never. This one hasn't gone with me internationally yet. It's not been on plane with me, but that's okay. It does kind of have that the tourist feel about it, a tourist in your own life almost kind of feel about it. And that phrase, that, you know, everybody hates a tourist kind of phrase, really matches this as well. Just because of how popular this is. It does, just because people like it, and there's a lot of people who use it. There will be others who intentionally stay away from it and dislike it for that reason. And that just, is that not exactly the same experience as being a tourist, right? Like, you know, it's, I feel like those two concepts, the Lightseers deck and the concept of being a tourist, are very much one and the same. But, you know, it says nothing about the validity of the deck. The deck works great. It's a wonderful reader. It's a classic. It'll be a classic for a long time. There are probably a million copies of this floating around in the world somewhere, so. Yeah. The lights. Oh, that one's bent too. What did I do to this deck? Anywho, The Lightseers by Chris Ann is my tourist deck. It's a great choice. Righty. The next prompt, we are on to number 6, is the local. So this is an authentic, familiar, and close to home type of deck. I picked 2 for this. At first I was like, I don't know. What deck feels like here? What deck is quintessentially Canadian in this weird way? And I kind of went for like an atmospheric feel for the 2 decks that I chose. The first one was Hush Tarot. That came to me and I was like, yep, that's the one, because it's especially seasonally, especially as we're going into September right now, that feeling of the overgrowth dying off, the foliage, the kind of death and decay. It really feels like the fall around here. It just does. So for me, I'm like, yeah, that's the place I am right now. It's very, very here. You know, plants that are struggling, plants that are beginning that slightly gentle process of letting go of their life for another year. I don't know. I felt like the Hush Tarot is very here. Bit desolate. And like it gives me the warm fuzzies in like a kind of cold and distant sort of way. The cold warm fuzzies. Make sense of that. But it does. It gives me the warm fuzzies in a distant and cold kind of way. it's like, here is home. And that's great. But like home, it's funny. Home is home, but it may not be your favorite place ever. Like, you'd never leave it, but you don't necessarily always love being there. You know, it's like a weird dichotomy. It's a push and pull. There's a tension. There's a ripping apart while also being stuck together at the same time. That kind of, this deck really, for me, embodies and encompasses. It's like a slightly unpleasant but attractive. Like, it's an unpleasant attraction. That's entirely what it is for me. It's like, you can't look away. You have to be there, but you don't love being there all the time. You know? So that's the Hush Tarot for me. So that one fell in the local deck choice. Pop that away. That's by Jeremy Hush, by the way. And then the other one, which when I thought of it, I was like, well, duh, it's Pastoral Tarot, which again, it's probably the more light side of that same coin. Just pull it out of my bag. Freshly anointed. She smells delicious. Look who's on top. Those are the backs. This one is a Lisa Hunt deck. I don't know what's the best way to show this. I'll just do this. Yeah, this one is very here. This is kind of almost like an ancestor work deck for me. Kind of deals with this, the spirit of this place in a timeline kind of context. So, you know, agricultural. I live in an agricultural area. I come from an agricultural family. I worked in an agricultural business for most of my life. Like, it's what I do. I recognize the plants. I recognize the struggles. I recognize the joys. It's all very much here, but it's a little bit from a time that is not of now, right? Obviously, as we're looking back fondly with that comfortable nostalgia. But, you know, these could be people in my life. All of them I recognize in some form or other. So, the Pastoral Tarot by Lisa Hunt is my second deck for the local prompt. But I don't know, I really like this. I really do. I've heard very mixed reviews on it. Some people have been like, what the heck is that? Other people are like, it's cool, I like it. But I think, for me, it just, it fits my life, really. It was one of those ones that's like, you know, you almost feel like, hey, was that made for me? It's a good one, and I like it. So that is the second choice for the local deck. Alright, so switching gears pretty quickly from you know, a down home, local, familiar kind of energy, we are jumping right into the Jet Setter prompt, which is a glamorous, sophisticated, and worldly type of deck. So I went for kind of a fancy indie deck. Mind you, I think I heard somewhere that this one is going mass market eventually, which would be sweet because it's a great deck. But this whole experience for me, it felt very, you know, of the indie deck persuasion, and I really wanted to include a Ciro Marchetti deck somewhere, and I felt for this prompt, the Jet Setter, it fit because his decks are very, they are really glamorous in their own kind of campy tarot sort of way. Their production quality on the indie decks is incredible. The art itself is polished. It is, like, as digital collage goes, it's quite polished. I feel like it's not glamorous in like a bedazzled sort of sense, but it's glamorous in a like conceptual sort of sense. Like the concept of tarot is glamorized in these decks deeply. Like these are almost as if tarot is personifying itself in Ciro's decks. So that's kind of another reason why I really wanted it as this for this prompt. It's, you know, sophisticated in its own way, and it's worldly. It is, especially these newer decks by him are on the more diverse side. There's bits and pieces of kind of cultures thrown throughout. It's a mixed bag, and it's a good example of how tarot kind of takes all of human life, puts it in a bag and shakes it, and then shows it to you as what comes out, you know? But, like, and it crosses time and space. There's, like, most Ciro decks are not any specific time period at all. They're kind of, it's, like, all over the place. But that's what makes it fun, and as I said, it just kind of encompasses this idea of tarot as this big mixed bag of everything about what it is to be human throughout time and space. And it does it really unapologetically. Like it's not even, doesn't stick to reality whatsoever. So, I don't know, I feel like this like very like fantasy and unrealistic worldview that this deck specifically has is akin to the unrealistic lifestyle of sort of the jet setter travel experience, because it's not reality in any way whatsoever. When you know, are staying in the most expensive hotels, and when you're on, you know, first class plane rides, and when you're, you know, just living that kind of lifestyle, it is an unrealistic lifestyle. It is a fantasy that you're living, and it's just a reflection of how this deck shows us that, well, in a sense, we're all just living a fantasy. And tarot is a way to kind of help us navigate our stories throughout that fantasy world. So anyway, it's really cool. I like it, and that's my choice for the Jet Setter prompt for the Wanderlust decks. Here's the backs also. It's a good one. Alright. Doodly doodly doo. Okay, number 8. We have moved from the lavish and luxurious fantasy world of the Jet Setter. Of course, in my brain, I'm picturing like Santorini, Mykonos, Milan, Dubai, like all of those like upscale cities. You know, London, Paris. Are they even on the list anymore? I don't even know. But like, you know, that kind of lifestyle. We're switching gears directly to a more minimalist, deeply spiritual type of prompt. This is the Pilgrim, and this one is a spiritual, meaningful, and transformative deck that fills the space for you. So for me, I thought, okay, for this specific prompt, if I was going to be doing the Camino de Santiago, which is a long walk across Spain and or Portugal and France, which deck would I take with me on that pilgrimage journey? Which is, it's something I've been thinking of doing for a long time. I have some friends who've done it. A couple friends have done it multiple times, and what deck would I bring with me on that on foot pilgrimage journey? And it had to be this one. This is my Marielle, and if I'm gonna have a month long of walking across a European country I'd never been to, where they speak a language I don't understand, who and what would I want to keep with me to chat to and keep myself, you know, learn those deep, hard lessons about myself in the process. What deck would I want as guidance? It'd be this one, Marielle. 1000%. I never get sick of this deck. I could use it every day for a month and not get sick of it. This isn't one I would be doing readings for other people with, and I think if I ever did the Camino, I would make a point to tell myself I wouldn't be doing readings for anybody else along the way. It would just be it would be a hard line I would not cross, because those kind of trips, those pilgrimages, those journeys, they're the Hermit card personified, right? It's that the energy of going within, of taking the time to really sit with yourself. You can't escape yourself when you're on the Camino, when you're walking for days and weeks on end in a certain direction. It's yourself that you're spending every second with. There's no distractions. You're walking. So you just have time to work stuff out with yourself. And if I needed a hand in working something out with myself, having a tarot deck with me would be so important, and I would want this one to help answer some of the questions that I inevitably have to face along that walk. So if any of you have ever actually done the Camino de Santiago, please let me know. I'd be very curious about it. I want to hear all about it. I'd like to know which route you took. Whether the Way of St. James is the most popular, and it would probably be my first choice. My other friend that just did it, she did the Portugal one, from the south of Portugal all the way up into Spain. Different coastal route, but kind of less rural, maybe? I don't know, but I'm in the like collecting information phase of curiosity about it, and I think at some point it is something I will do, but But yeah, if I do, Marielle's coming with me. And to be kind of bold and brave to say like only this one would come with me, because I would probably want an RWS too, and I would want the Ritual Tarot, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, no, this one, it would have to be this one. It would. Oh, my 2 wolves. Love it. They're upside down though. Anyway, yes, Marielle. Great choice for the Pilgrim. You can just stay over here next to me. I can stay out. Okay, next question, number 9, the Nomad. This one's more fun. This was the question. This was the prompt that made me want to do this tag, because I knew exactly what deck I wanted to talk about for this one, and it just came into. So it's. I've been waiting a long time for it. It took a long time to ship to me, but it's this deck fits. It feels a part of me already. It's so a lot in everything. I'll just tell you what it is. All right, so for the Nomad, the free-spirited, independent, and adaptable deck, I've got the Hard Times Oracle, and this is by Heather Enders. This is an indie deck available on Etsy. She lives in a tiny home off-grid, so if you put your order in, it might be a little while before she ships it, which is totally fine. No rush. Don't waste your power on trying to get stuff out to me. But this is a cute little oracle deck that is kind of done in a really cute little Polaroid style. The backs even look like photographs, pictures. I don't know, it's really nostalgic in that way for me as well. Like the cards, it feels like pictures, which is great. And they're just really gorgeous and amazing and beautiful little images of her life and her travels as she lives the life of said nomad, right? Like it's giving like that kind of road trip vibe, but also more than it's not like a road trip. You're not going home at the end of it. You just kind of like live out in the world and you make your way through it. And this deck, it's the process card is the toilet. That's funny, but it kind of comes up. It brings up things that you would come up against if you lived a nomadic lifestyle, and it kind of helps you work through kind of harder times, as the name of the deck does definitely say. So I've been using it for the last week or so, pretty much every day. It's so gentle, but it's also not fluffy. Like, I wouldn't say this is a fluffy deck at all, but it's calm, it's quiet. The whole vibe of this deck is kind of, I don't know, you feel it feels like you're alone in the world. It's a lonely deck. It has a very lonely and like solitary vibe, which I feel like is the kind of emotional experience you kind of deal with a lot as a nomad. Kind of, it is a more lonely existence while you're out and about in the world, surrounding yourself by different pockets of people all the time, forging, connections on a deeper level is harder when, you're on the move, or I don't know. I feel like this deck fits this nomadic lifestyle prompt perfectly. I love the silly font. I don't think it takes away from it at all. I think it adds a level of innocence to the experience. I don't know, it's just compositionally, it's beautiful. And it really feels like, I don't know, maybe a version of me in the past lived this certain way. Just the close-up shots of the ground. Supposed to be present, yes, of course. Oh, it's amazing. I don't know, I really like this deck. So this is the Hard Times Oracle by Heather Enders, and this is my nomad deck. And if I lived in a van and I traveled around all the time, this would just kind of live on my dashboard probably. And I'd pull a card or two when I was having a moment, So, anywho, love it. Some people may not enjoy the backs, may not, enjoy the whole experience, but for me, it's like, yes, this is so cool. Doesn't come with the book? No, it didn't even come with the book, so it is what it is, and I love it for what it is, and it's amazing. So, that's number 9. It's the Nomad. Alright, we're getting there, guys. Number 10, the Culture Vulture. This one is a deck that is diverse, educational, and enriching. And I picked I don't know, kind of a hilarious one. I've been trying to kind of downsize my decks that are a little bit all over the place in the culture department, because I do prefer ones that kind of stick to their theme culturally. I get whiplash really easily when I'm jumping from like one mindset and ideology a lot back and forth. But a deck that I definitely had to keep around that fits that bill is the Tarot-pocalypsis, and it is all over the place, but it's awesome and quite fun. So this one, it does contain, like, the book is giant as well. The guidebook is like a hardcover that's like 300 pages long. So there is a great amount of information with sources within it. It covers many manner of culture in great detail, and it's so much fun. So this is my culture vulture. You know, you've got Egyptian, you've got Greek, you've got Indian, Norse. Like, each major arcana is a different god or goddess from multiple pantheons. And having the descriptive word of the prompt being vulture also kind of humors me and makes it kind of funny as well. Maybe it was chosen just because it rhymed, but it does kind of speak of you know, that person who takes, you know, 6 months off of their life and travels to like 25 different countries really quickly and then comes back with a wealth of knowledge. That's what this deck kind of feels like. You know, it's been around the block a little bit and it has a lot of stories to tell, but at the same time you never feel like you can know quite enough about each one of them, because there's just so much going on, right? Like, you have so many questions for this person who's been everywhere, but you don't know where to start, because, you know, they've, in a short amount of time, in a condensed amount of space, been through so much more than the quiet, simple life you may have lived in contrast. So this card cracks me right up. But yeah, so that's Tarot-pocalypsis by Kim Huggins and Eric C. Dunn? Yes, that's right. Yeah, it's an adventure. This deck is an adventure. It does a little bit feel like you're being catapulted from one corner of the world to the next every time you flip a card over. But a fun time. So that's Tarot-pocalypsis. The Culture Vulture. Alrighty, we're getting down to the wire, guys. Doing so good. Alright, the next one is number 11, The Volunteer. A compassionate, helpful, altruistic tarot. And there was one that I had to pick. And this one deeply gives me woofer vibes. I don't know if anybody's ever been a woofer before. Please let me know down below if you ever did a stint woofing. Would love to. And I kind of did. The workaway program is basically like woofing, but it's not necessarily strictly farms. But the guy in tarot is, if I came across a woofer and they had a tarot deck, I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever if it was the guy in tarot. So this is by Brain. Come on, you can do it. Joanna Powell Colbert. Yes. Yes. There we go. This is the Shifter edition. I've just trimmed it down a lot. I took off a lot of the border because it comes with multiple borders, but yeah, no, this one, it's a very earth-based, fun, gentle tarot deck. It's very human and people-focused. It's full of people that you'd probably run into in your daily life. It's beautifully illustrated. I think she started with photographs, and then since, like, on top of that, kind of built up with, I don't know, I feel like it might even be colored pencil, but they're beautiful, they're stunning. And sometimes you're like, is that even a photograph? Like, it could be. They're beautiful. But the suits are renamed after the elements, which is great. I had to, the layout of the deck isn't ideal, so when you trim them all to be the same shape, some of them get chopped and some don't, but no big deal. But it's earthy, and as I said, if someone was out volunteering, if someone was, you know, building houses out in South America, or getting water to children in Africa, or, you know, any number of volunteer positions across the world, organic farming across the, you know, Appalachian region, like, it's the kind of deck that person would have. Has a little bit of a Pacific Northwest feel about it too at the same time. Basically just your your bog standard hippie deck, and I love it. It's the Gaian Tarot. It's really it's earthy. It holds a reverence and respect for the earth as a being, and then, you know, shows us humans interacting with the earth and her elements. And it's great. So this is my choice for the volunteer for the Wanderlust Decks Tarot tag. And it's great. I need to bust this one out more. This is one of the shed decks. Oh, look at that. 3 of Pentacles. Yes. But yeah, this one I want to use out in the garden. In my organic garden. What do you know? So yeah, perfect. The perfect woofer deck. The volunteer. Alrighty. And number 12. We're almost done. The Solo Traveler. An introspective, self-reliant tarot deck that is empowering. Now for me, this is a very personal choice. And it had to be this one. This one had to be on the list. It wouldn't be this list without this one on it. Oh, look who's on top again, too. My boy! Hello! This is the Ritual Tarot by Tierra May, and this one saved my life when I was in Greece. I wasn't going to bring it, ultimately, but Nina, my dear friend Nina, suggested that I definitely do take it with me, and for that I am forever grateful. The Ritual Tarot was, like, stood by my side during storms, during hard times, during panic attacks, during, you know, ups and downs. It was my favorite thing to read as the sun came up in the morning. It was just beautiful and amazing, and when I'm traveling alone and by myself, this is who I want with me. I'd probably be okay if all I took was this one. Like for this one versus the Marielle for the Pilgrim were a hard choice, but I feel like the Marielle does sit more in that like fully spiritual space, whereas this is like all of everything about my life. So the Ritual Tarot is my solo traveler deck. It's everything. I love it dearly and deeply, and a lot of that isn't just because of the deck itself. It's where it's been with me. It's what I've been through with it. It's like when you kind of go through a stressful situation with a friend, your bond is forever deepened, and that's what this one is for me. I relied on it. It relied on me. And I'll always love it for that. So, the Ritual Tarot by Tierra May is my solo traveler deck. So it's introspective. So introspective, this one. It just asks you about yourself. It's self-reliant in that you're not needing an oracle deck to go with it at all. It can pair with things, but on its own it does just fine. And I don't know, it just fills me with a level of, you know, cold comfort as well. It's another cold comfort deck. It's not like a warm fuzzy, but it's a cold comfort, which is nice. Because, you know, no matter how you're feeling, whether you're full of joy and excitement or if you're a bit down and out, like, it works all the time. You don't have to, like, some decks you want to stay away from when you're sad because they either make it worse or they feel like they're mocking you. And so if you're super happy, you don't want to pull, like, decks that kind of meet you a little bit lower. But this one spans the spectrum. It will meet you at the top, and it will meet you at the bottom, and it will meet you everywhere in between. So that's why it's versatile, and I love it for that. So my glorious Ritual Tarot. Beauteous. Alright. Okay, last prompt, guys. We've nearly done it. Number 13 is the Dreamer, the imaginative, creative, and visionary deck. And I really didn't want to pick this one for it, because I think every time I do a tag, I bloody well pick this deck. But, oops, I think it's for good reason. Another one in one of my bags. I chose the Dreams of Gaia, which I guess is kind of on the nose for being a dreamer deck, but I don't know, I love it so much. And it is imaginative indeed. It's visionary indeed and creative. This one kind of goes its own way. It says, hey tarot, I think you're neat, but I'm going to try something a little bit different. And usually I would hate that, but in this deck I love it. And this is a deck I've had for a very long time. It was one of my earlier non-RWS decks, and it helped me make a lot of hard decisions about certain things in my life. It's always a comfort. It's wise, wiser than I. I don't know. It has a habit of showing me its personality. I have stalker cards with this deck all the time, and you know, it always tells me what I need to hear in a really gentle and wonderful way. It feels dreamy, and I love it so much. So the Dreamer, the deck that, you know, helps me make plans, that sets me on the path of adventure, that spark at the beginning of a travel situation. That's this one. It's the Dreams of Gaia. And it's pretty dang wonderful. So that is the last one. That's the Wanderlust Dex tag. I hope you've enjoyed it. So there you have it. That's the Wanderlust Dex tag. Thank you so much for Rhiannon for introducing me to this wonderful tag by creating it. It's so much fun. I've loved it so much. It's putting me in that mood. It's cultivating those feelings of excitement and enthusiasm about upcoming adventure. It's, you know, something I always hang on to, something I always want to think about doing, getting out there every so often. It's you know, a part of the experience that really feeds my soul a little bit. So I had so much fun, and I'm glad I finally got around to doing it, because I've been saying I'm gonna do it for a while. So yeah, I want to pull as a quick little card from the Dreams of Gaia, just as a little wrap up, just to kind of close this open space of adventure and thinking about all of the things about the world, about seeing the world, being in the world, that feeling of wanderlust, which is a feeling that follows me around since I was very young. Is it something everyone has? Let me know. Does everyone have wanderlust, or is it just select few that get tormented by it all the time? Always. Anywho, let's see. What are our cards? Six of Air. Nice. Which is the Six of Swords, which is in the RWS a lovely travel card. Okay, so we've got two very heady cards. Let's pick one more. Oh boy. Look at this. Okay, so we've got the Eight of Swords, which is, you know, being stuck in your head, right? And then the Six of Swords, which is our moving on, transition from rough waters to calmer waters, taking our internal mental experience through to, you know, to another place. And it is also a card of travel as well. But I love our little, we got a caduceus, of course we do. That middle path, that, you know, finding the middle road, finding, you know, not extremes, finding balance within extremes. It is, 6 is the number of harmony. Harmony of air is, you know, keeping our thoughts on track, on the middle path, away from extremes, right? We don't necessarily want to live in extremes, right? And then 8 is the, you know, an internal mental experience. You're really inside yourself, seeing that internal self. And then death and rebirth, so a transformation. Also an 8, which is interesting. So traditionally a death card would be 13, but in this wonderful deck it's number 8, where strength or justice would be. So also very curious. I might just leave these out and take a good hard look at the guidebook with them, just to see what other insights I can glean from them pertaining to me specifically. But I think as well, this feeling of wanderlust, it does seem to be a mental experience, right? It's like, for me, I say it's a lot of it's heart focused, but I think a lot of it might just be pointing it in the head focused, in the mind, in the visualization aspect of it, and you know, seeing what you see in your mind's eye, and having the power to transform that image into what you want. You know, maybe a certain image expectation one might have gets the opportunity to be transfigured, so into something else. So Anyway, I'll do some digging, do some looking there, but that sounds like fun. So, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate you guys. And I will see all you fine people in my next video.